Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video, and today we have pinning patterns. So if you really want to improve your chess, especially for you beginners out there or even more advanced players, pattern recognition can make a big difference. You want to take a set of problems, go over them more than once, because if you just solve some chess puzzles, or study some tactics, and then you don't review them, you may forget a lot of what you've learned. But if you take a set of problems, like here today, I'll try and do about 20 problems, depending how quickly they go. And you can go over these problems slowly the first time and then go over them again and try and solve them multiple times to really burn those patterns into your memory so you'll more easily recognize them in your own games. All right, so here we have a queen, I believe, captured in the center here. And because this involves pins, pinning patterns, we want to try and see if there's some advantage that we can use that involves a pin. All right. Well, I see our opponent pinning us right here, but the queen has just moved to the center, and it's our turn to move. Now they are pinning our bishop to the queen, but are they really? Because our queen is protected there, and so it's not really a pin. And there's two types of pins. You have the regular pin, but then you have an absolute pin, like a pin of a piece against the king that cannot be moved because it would be illegal to do so. Now here we could move our knight, but even it's pinned to our queen and they would capture our queen, but we still could move that if we really wanted to, which would not be a good idea. All right. So when you're trying to solve puzzles or tactics, in your games or in problems, look for checks, captures, and threats. Checks first. So in that order, checks first, then captures, then threats. And that should help you solve this problem. All right, with black to move, it looks like we can just go here, unpinning this bishop, which, I don't know, it's not much of a pin here, but then we'll be attacking their queen. They'll be forced to deal with the check, and we pick off their unprotected queen. And that's also very important. Look for unprotected pieces. Here there's the unprotected bishop, unprotected queen, and sometimes the unprotected pieces can become targets. Okay, so let's solve this. Capture, and then we pick off the queen. So this is supposed to be involving a pin. That's the theme. And I don't know, really it was a discovered attack, I guess. Okay, on to the next problem. Let's see if there's another pin or some kind of pin here. Okay, the rook is just moved up. We want to look for checks, captures, and threats because they're the most forcing. Are there any pins going on in this position? Well, this bishop is pinning our knight to our king. So there's a pin. But it is white's turn to move here. So what should we do? Let's look at the material real quick. So we have rooks are even. They have a queen, and we do not. So that is no good. So it looks like we are behind in material. We both have a bishop pair. We have an extra, or no, they have an extra queen. And a knight, I believe. So we're just way behind in this. Okay. So behind that far, we need to look for mating threats. All right. Well, I don't know. It seems like we're not really using pins too much here. Um, hmm. What attack do we have featuring a check? Well, it looks like that's what we have to do is go for a checkmate here. So, I don't know. These are all supposed to be dealing with pins. And that's what I'm thinking we have to do is move this rook up here. Our king is, or their king is running out of options. He'll have to block, and then we can capture with a mate. Huh. So I don't know if there's much of a pin theme there other than this pin. Um, leave comments and let me know what you think. But anyway, maybe there'll be more pins here. These are all supposed to be pins. There might be somewhat of a pin going on in the game, but I don't know if it's the most important feature of the problem. All right, the queen is centralized. We do have a pin here, which could help us. They're pinning the knight. It can't move and attack our queen, so that's good. But it's white's turn to move here. How do we take advantage of things? Well, our queen's under attack and unprotected, so that's not so good. Oh, and our opponent has these pawns marched down the board, getting ready to promote here as well. Or they could even capture our knight, but it'd be better to promote, I guess. All right, what are you going to do here, white player? Well, look for those checks first, the most important and forcing moves, and that should help you. Okay, the pin does come into play here, this pin. So this is an important pin of the knight on the king. Why? Because that knight would be able to go here and block a bishop attack. So hopefully you found that. Pause the video at any time if you need more time to think. All right, so let's move here. There we go. That leads to a mate in one because the queen is covering here, the bishop's attacking here, and the knight is pinned by the rook. All right, on to problem number 4. See if we can get at least 20 in here. All right, so e4 is played, pushing forward, unleashing the bishop. A strong bunch of pawns here in the center. What do we have? What do we have? Are there any pins going on here? All right, well, look for checks, then captures, then threats. So checks first. What do we have? The queen could go here, but the rook could capture us. So that doesn't look so good. Other than that, we have what? A rook check up here. The king would be forced to move. And then, what do we do? Oh, then we can use our pin that we will have. So here we had to set up the pin because then we'll be able to capture the rook. So try and figure that out in your head if you can. I've mentioned this in other videos, but if you can try and solve problems completely all the way through in your head before you start looking at moves and making moves when you're doing puzzles on your own. But I'm thinking check. That will force the king here, pinning the bishop with our queen to the king, and then our rook could swing over here and capture. Going up in material. All right. Well, here we go. And let's pick that off. Okay, so the pin did come into play here and help us. On to the next problem. Queen is launched forward here. What is this queen doing? Attacking this pawn right here. What can we do? All right, well. Okay, I think I found this one. It's a pattern that I recognize, so I was able to find it more quickly, and that's something that will definitely help you in your own games. Is the more you do these puzzles, the more you'll start recognizing the patterns. So look for checks first. And if you do that, that should help you figure this out. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. All right, the rook will move up here, checking the king. The king cannot go anywhere. So the king will have to block with the bishop, and now that bishop will be pinned to the king. So what should we do next? Well, then we can move our bishop piling on to the pinned piece. So that's a common theme and pattern, is when you pin, try to add more pressure to the pinned piece and win it. So pin it and then win it if you can. All right, here we go. Then the piece is pinned, this bishop here, so we attack it, and now we have a check to deal with, so we can deal with that by just moving up here, and we will grab this. Now there is a mate threat here too, so that's another good pattern to look at. So there's not even a way to get out of that. The queen could harass us, but then we could just capture the queen, and we still have this mate threat of capturing here. Even if this pawn moves forward and the rook captures here, it still covers this square. All right, on to the next one. We have a queen moving to the side here, attacking our unprotected queen. What can we do here? Well, checks first. We can capture this pawn with check. And there are two ways to block. If they block with the queen, we can capture with a mate because of this bishop. We capture the pawn. The better move is maybe this. Oh, but if that, well, no, if that goes there to block, then what do we do? Oh, then we have another check. A follow-up check, delivering a mate of crisscrossing bishops. All right, so hopefully you found that one. Try and figure it out in your head and solve it if you can. And if you're ready, here we go. And we deliver the mate here because of the crisscrossing bishops. And the pin. The pin does come into play here. So this bishop cannot block because it's pinned to the king. All right, on to problem number 7. The bishop has unleashed a discovered attack by the rook on our queen. And we have this attack by the bishop. So if the queen moves, maybe the knight could be picked off by the bishop and fork both of our rooks. Oh, it's not looking good for white. So can we ignore? And there's a pin, I guess, here. If the knight moves, the rook could just be captured. But we need to find a way to go after the king. Always look for checks. If you don't have any checks, there aren't any immediate checks. Is there any pieces that we could capture? Well, we have to take care of our queen. So whatever we do is probably going to involve our queen, and that is the hint on where you should go. Maybe you can't check immediately or capture immediately with the queen. So then you want to look for threats. And threats include threat of checkmate. So hopefully you found this answer. The queen will go up here. cutting off the king's escape and threatening a mate right here. All right, here we go. And we just deliver mate. A mate in 2. Okay, so, most of these are a little more simple because you want to recognize the basic patterns first, and then as you improve and you level up in chess, or if you're already there, you can use this to reinforce the basics, but you may need more difficult problems. So, if anybody out there would like more difficult problems, I can do those as well. Just let me know in the comments. All right, here we go. We have a queen blocking, and now it's pinned here by our queen to the king. So what can we do? This isn't, well, this was probably just a bad move by white. We want to look for checks first, before we think about just capturing this queen. But that could come into play. So hopefully you figured this out. Our bishop is under attack. Do we need to worry about that? Well, it looks like there's something better. If you can ignore what your opponent is doing and try and find something that forces him to react to what you're doing, that's more important. And checks are very forcing. So maybe this rook battery should come into play. Take a look at that. Hopefully you've solved this one. If not, let's find out here what we should do. Well, we could check. Do we have a follow-up then? If they capture, we could capture again. The king would either capture and then we could grab the queen, or maybe we would have something like this where the king moves forward, we take the queen, and then after a recapture, we could grab this rook over here. But I think that's the main way to go. So check. Now, if the king goes here, we can go ahead and capture and have that same theme of picking this off after this recaptures. So we take, and then they'll get our bishop, but we have 2 rooks for, let's see, 3 pawns versus 4. So we're ahead. We're up in exchange, but they have doubled pawns over here, which are kind of rough. And we have the 2 rooks versus the rook and bishop. All right, on to the next problem. What do we have? Okay, a bishop has just attacked our queen. Oh, man, it's looking grim for our queen over here. And our knight. Black is attacking, threatening to attack our king, maybe. What do we have here? What do we have? Do we have any checks against their king? Well, all right, this one's kind of crazy. I mean, what pins are going on in this? Our queen is, well, nope. Come on, are there even any noticeable or noteworthy pins in here? I'm looking. If the bishop moves, we pick off the knight, but the bishop is probably just going to capture our queen. So, what can white do to go after this king? Do we sacrifice the queen? Then if the rook captures, We could go here, pinning the rook to the king. If they capture our rook, then our other rook captures with check, but the king could escape here or go into the corner. If the king goes here, our knight could capture with check. Man, I don't know. There's just a lot going on in this position, and I'm not seeing any, quick patterns that I recognize. Any checks? Any checks? Yeah, I don't even see any checks other than the queen capture there. Then the rook would capture, so that's kind of forcing. And then maybe we counterattack their queen. If they take ours, we take theirs. But that's not looking too good because their bishop, if they take our queen, they'll be lined up on our king with a discovered attack here once they move there. Huh. All right. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we knock this bishop out. All right, maybe I'll get this one wrong, but I don't know. If we do that, nope, they don't want that. Okay, maybe they want this. They don't like that either. So we have a tricky one here. They want us to go here? No. Man. Go there. Okay, hopefully you're doing better than I'm doing. That they don't like. What do they want here? They want us to push that. This is outrageous. Hopefully you are finding this problem better than I am. I don't even know what to move here. This is starting to get ridiculous. What is the possibility? Okay, I need a hint because this one is just insane. Huh. Okay, let's go back and look at that. So they want us to capture the rook, pinning the bishop, so the bishop can't move. Oh, okay, I guess that made sense. I think I overcomplicated that problem. And it was a pattern I didn't recognize, so another good reason to do these. All right. On to the next one. Queen just captured here on c2. What do we have? We have a discovered attack. We could pin this knight to the king. Huh. Yeah. So there could be a pin with this bishop. But I'm sorry, I don't know. These pins are not... the examples of pins are not as good as I would have liked them to be. So here, we're just going to go for a mate in one, it looks like. So hopefully you found the answer. We're just going to move up here with a mate in one. So how was there even a pin theme in that at all? Come on, people. All right, let's keep moving here. We'll try and get 20 problems done. The king has moved back, retreating. We want to come forward. Well, huh. Where are the pin themes in this? I'm not seeing many pin themes. Okay, we have a rook cutting the king off. The queen will cut off the king. And it looks like we have a mate in one here once again with the knight. So hopefully you found this. We'll just go here and deliver a mate. Huh. Okay. What pin theme are they even talking about? I would say that these problems are random on chess.com. They're all supposed to deal with pins, but I don't think they're doing the greatest job here. Okay, rook has moved up, maybe to counter our rook on the 7th rank. But now this knight is pinned to the rook, so there is a pin in this problem. What else do we have? Is there an attack on the king? That is the question. All right, well, I guess we just use our pin. So the pin actually is mightier than the horse in this one, or the knight. So what we're going to do is take advantage of our pin. And when you have a pinned piece, if you can add more pressure to that, you want to pin it and then win it is the easy way to remember this. So we're going to move this pawn up, adding more pressure to the pinned piece. If the knight moves, well then we can just... Well, the rook is protected. So maybe we have to take another look at this problem. The rook is protected by this. So if the knight moves, where is it going to go to? Well, I guess we could go after the knight up here. So if we attack the pinned knight, the knight will have to move. But where? And if that knight moves, we have a bishop attacking, but our rook is under attack. So does that even work? Attack. The knight will move. Then if we go after the rook, the knight will go there. Huh. All right. Well, see, they distracted us with the pin. Once again, checks are most important here. So hopefully with that in mind, see if you can solve this one. If you're ready, if not, pause the video. But we're looking for checks now. So maybe we check the king, forcing him into the corner, and then our knight just jumps up here and delivers a mate. So, I don't know. Once again, the pin is not really playing as big a part in here. Okay. Here we go. Now the queen is pinned to the king by our queen, blocking the attack here. So what do we want to do? All right, well, pin it and win it. We have a queen pinned to the king, so we want to add more pressure. We'll bring the rook over and win that queen. So here we go. Hopefully you found this one. So the pin did come into play here, and this is a good pattern to know. Whenever the rook can line up on a king and queen. All right, on to the next one. The bishop has centralized here, attacking our bishop. What do we do? Can we go after white. We are attacking their unprotected rook. So that looks dangerous. They can't move the queen here, and attack us because of this pawn. Oh, but there is a threat here of checking us. We would have to, the only way to stop mate would be to capture that knight. So we probably do not want to go after this rook up here because of this attack here. All right. Well, let's use the pin again. The pin will come into play in this with a queen and king lined up. Anytime you have pieces lined up like this, look for attacks. So, we're probably going to move here, attacking the queen and king. What can be done? If they try to block with the bishop, our rook can attack. They could try and check us with the knight, but our queen could capture. Then their bishop could capture our queen. But then our rook would be able to get theirs. So a lot going on here. Try to solve this all in your head. Pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. The pin. They decide to go back that way, but that lets us just grab their queen. All right, on to the next problem. We just had a capture here. What do we have? We have a pin. So we have the bishop pinned by this rook. So we have a knight piling up on that, but this knight is helping cover. So maybe we have something better. Because the bishop is pinned, it can't cover this pawn. So maybe we could go here attacking the king, but the king would be able to run out of the pin by going here. Then what do we do? I don't know if we have a follow-up then. Oh, then we can run over here with our bishop. And that would be it. Oh, okay, that was a little tricky. So the pin does come into play here, this pin. All right, so what we're going to do is go after the pawn because of this pinned bishop. The king will have to run to here. Then we can bring our bishop up. And the bishops and the knight, they kind of cover everything. Here we go. Try and see if you can calculate that in your head, especially for you beginners out there. If not, let's solve it. All right, there we go. The king is trapped. On to the next one. We'll try and do 5 more and then wrap the video up. So, king has moved over to help protect the rook. But they have an extra queen that was already protecting. So what can we do? Oh, well, the king was in check, so that's why it had to move. But now there's a possible mate. So hopefully you found this mate. Take a look at it, see if you can solve it. Does any pin come into play here? All right, look for the checks first. You don't want to capture with the rook, but the knight capture, delivering a check. The bishop cuts off escape along with the rook here. So here we go. a mate in one. Now, where is there a pin theme in this? You know, I may have to find some pinning problems on my own, um, and come up with some videos in the future that have better pinning problems than this. Anyway, I'll just do more. These are still good patterns to burn into your pattern recognition memory banks. Okay. Bishop is attacking our queen here. What do we do? Well, yeah, I don't know if I see anything that has to do with a pin once again. I apologize for that. I was hoping there'd be better problems that deal with pinning patterns. And there have been some good ones. Okay, so what do you look for first? Checks, captures, and threats in that order. So checks first. The only piece that can check is this rook. So we check. The queen could block, but then we just capture the queen. So that's not very likely. The king is probably going to run. But now the bishop is pinned to the rook. The rook can't move, or we just pick off the bishop. So, and the queen is lined up on it. So I think that's the way forward. And we just pick off the bishop. So we're just ahead. All right, on to the last three problems. Oh, finally we have a pin. A bishop is pinning this knight to the king. But there's a little tactic here. You want to be careful when you are pinning like this. And what is the first thing we look for? The checks. And there's a check available. So now we have a check forking the king and the pinning bishop. So here we go. We are winning the pinning piece. So the pin was not mightier than the knight this time, because the queen swooped in there and knocked that pin out of there. All right. Oh, we just had a capture. So what do we do here? Come on. Okay, I guess there was a pin here. The bishop was here, and really it was pinned to the protection of this square. But now that it's moved, it's obvious. We have a mate in one here. So hopefully you found that pretty quickly. I'm sorry if I ruined it before you solved it, but a quick mate in one. So a very important thing in your games and in puzzles or whatever, whenever a move is played, ask yourself, why was that move played, and what changed in the position after that move was played, or that piece was moved. So let's look at the next problem and keep that in mind. The knight has launched forward. So why is that knight moved forward? And what changed in the position after that knight moves? Well, why did the knight move forward? Probably to attack our queen here. And then maybe fork this pawn. So forking the queen and the pawn. The queen could just drop back, and protect the pawn. But maybe there's something better here. What changed in the position? Well, the knight was maybe blocking the queen's line up here, but that's protected by the bishop. So checks first. Let's look at the checks. If we do that, you should be able to solve this problem. So here we go. We have a bishop capturing here. But then what? Most likely the rook will capture. Then our queen can capture with check. So queen captures with check, driving the king over to the h-file. And then what? Our queen could drop back, checking again. And that would give us time to get our knight out of trouble. But is that enough? They would have 5, 7 pawns. We would have 6. Oh, but we would have a rook. Okay, we would be up a rook. So that's the way to go. All right, try to solve all that in your head. Pause if you need more time, as always. If not, here we go. And they stop right there because now we're just up a rook. Although, yeah, and they're in check, so they have to move. And that'll give us time to save our knight. So then we'll just be ahead in material. All right, well, that was 20 problems. I hope these helped you some. There were some good pinning patterns in there. It could have been better, so I don't know. Maybe I'll have to change the settings here. But let me know what you think. Leave any comments that you would like. Like and support the channel, like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.